my lovely friends. It's time for, drumroll please, my favorite books of 2024. So I'm doing 24 books for 2024. I know. But it's kind of a mix. So I'm doing a mix of manhwa, novels, and some manga. I don't even know if manga made... No manga made it. Oh, no, I lied. There's some manga that made it on here. And we're gonna do this in parts. So I'm gonna do novels first, and then I'm gonna do manhwa, and then I'm gonna do manga, and then I'm gonna choose like my top 3 at the end to talk about. So I would go grab your tea, get settled in, and let's start chatting. Okay, so the first book obviously is going to be Wild Love by Elsie Silver. I read this a couple days ago and I am absolutely obsessed with Elsie Silver, and my only issue is that I have no other Elsie Silver books at home. My friend has the second book in the Rose Hill series. She's annotating it for me, so I'll eventually get it back. But I'm in such an Elsie Silver mood. So Wild Love is about basically this billionaire who moves back to a small town, and then his childhood frenemy is also there, and then they end up working together, and then he also finds out he has a daughter, and it's just all these cutesy tropes, and their forced proximity, and she thought he hate. It's just so cute, and you have to read it. I absolutely loved it because he's also a billionaire. I probably already mentioned that like 5 times. But I just loved it. It was the coziest small town vibes ever. So you definitely have to read it. I think like my rating about it is like 4.75. I've like increased it as I've been talking about it more and more. So you definitely have to check it out. The next is the Prison Healer series. By the way, there is no order to this. This is the order of which my photos uploaded to my computer. But let's get back to it. Prison Healer. I loved Prison Healer because it gave me the vibes of the old like 2010s fantasy books in the best way possible. The first one is like completely unique. It's set up in a prison. She's a prisoner who is also the healer there, and then she has to go through these trials to survive. And then the second book, other stuff happens, and it's more of those tropes are put in. But I love how the author spins all the tropes to be so original. It just makes me so happy, and I feel it just like it reminds me, for some reason, I don't know if it's because people have been talking about Red Queen more lately, or I've been seeing Victoria Aveyard's reels on my Instagram more, but it reminds me of how Red Queen, the first book, is so original, and the world building is just so beautiful, and then you get into more of the tropes and more of like that you find in fantasy books, which I love, and I feel like the Prison Healer did the same. I just love it. I think the series, I haven't read the third one. I read the first 2. Second one ended on a cliffhanger. I'm looking for the hardback of the third one because they're not in store and I have to order it, and I procrastinate ordering anything online. So the whole series right now is a 4.25, but I've heard the last book's really, really good, so that may change in the new year when I finally read it. Howl's Moving Castle, I forgot I put it on here. So if you have been with me for a long time, you will know that Howl's Moving Castle is my favorite movie, like, of all time. Like, it's my favorite animated movie, and then like I have like some rom-com favorites, like 10 Things I Hate About You and stuff, but that's another whole thing. But everybody's been telling me that the book is completely different than the movie, and I was gonna read the book a long time ago, but I live in Canada, so we had like the cover just wasn't pretty, and then they got the new cover, and the new cover is gorgeous. I mean, gorgeous. And so obviously I bought it, and then I actually read it right before I was going to see Wicked, and I absolutely adored it. I like how different it is from the movie because I feel like both the movie and the book are separate, but they're kind of connected. The characters are a little bit similar, they're like, the world is similar, but they're both different, and I think it's nice because you could rewatch the movie and reread the book over and over and like always find little things to either connect them or see them different. What I loved about the book is the connection to like our world. I'm not gonna say too much about it, but I loved I love Howl in the book. I love how they showed so much more flaws, because I feel like that's the only thing I miss about the movie, is that it's so short that we don't get to see the flaws and more of like everyone being defined. It's just so cute. You have to read the book. If you love the movie, you love the book, I promise. It's different, but you'll love it. Oh my god. I do not speak about this book enough. The American Roommate Experiment is so good. I absolutely adored it. I read it. So I work all summer as a tennis coach, and then I had like, I think I took the Friday off, and then I had like a couple days off before school. I was literally reading this in a pool. So I read The Spanish Love Deception I think a year ago, and I didn't love it. So I was very on edge about the American Roommate Experiment, but I think I bought the American Roommate Experiment before I bought the Spanish Love Deception, and so I bought it, obviously, and I actually absolutely adored this. I loved it so much more than I loved the Spanish Love Deception. There's just something about it. Maybe it's the characters. I love the characters, and I loved how she did the like fake dating or experimental dating. I don't even know, maybe it's the same trope. There's too many tropes now. But what I loved about it is the fact that it was like, okay, I'm gonna give you 6 dates, and it's gonna help you with your like book, and but the forced proximity, I think, is what made it the best, because they're living in the same house. And I think the reason why I enjoyed it was because they never said they never made it out to be, you can't fall in love with me or anything like that. They just genuinely like went along with it, and they were slowly falling in love with each other. Because I read Daydream, which has the experimental dating thing, I didn't enjoy it as much. And I think it's because of the fact that it was like they were like falling for each other. Like they basically were like dating before they started experimental. I also think I liked the fact that like they were gonna split after a certain amount of days. That made it better. I don't know, I just love the American Roommate Experiment so much. I don't remember what I rated it. It was probably like high 4s. So it's really good. It reminds me of a rom-com, like those rom-coms on TV. I think that's why I really enjoyed it. The Breakup Pact! Oh my god. I've read so many good romances, or romance contemporary, whatever you want to call them, this year. The Breakup Pact is one of, I think, the most like underrated romance books of the year. And I've read it twice. I read it once when the wonderful publisher sent it to me, and the second time when I got it from my friend, annotated it and gave it to her. What I love about it is it's just so out there. The idea is so out there, but the Emma Lord just makes it seem so normal. So basically, the female lead and the male lead, they're both childhood best friends who separated after, like, they went their separate ways, like when they went to university and stuff. And the one thing that brings them back together is that they're both a part of like the most like famous breakups at the moment. So he was dating his girlfriend was cheating on him with like super hot famous actor, and she and her ex-boyfriend did like a reality show or something. It was absolutely out there, and it's just so cute because it's a small town vibe too. So they both end up back in this small town, and then they pretend to fake date to get back at their exes. So basically she fakes dates because she owns this little like tea shop, and it's like, okay, to bring in more customers, and he fakes dates to try and like make his girlfriend jealous and come back. But like obviously it doesn't work. But it was so cute and wholesome, and I loved the two of them together. I may have a soft spot for small town romances. Oh my god. I'm doing this for every single book I see on here. Rules for Rule Breaking by Talia Tucker is one of the cutest contemporary romance, whatever you want to call it, YA books I've read in so long. I am very picky about my YA romances. Not sure why, but Rules for Rule Breaking was just so cute. I think I have it 5 stars here. I don't know if it's 5 stars or 4.5. It's probably 5. But I have been dying to... Okay, I'm a sucker for really, really pretty covers. So I saw Rules for Rule Breaking and I'm like, please get me an ARC universe. Obviously that didn't work. But then I went to the Pigeon Teen social in June and it was sitting there. So I grabbed it. And I was like, mine. And I read it this summer and it was so cute. It's like the cutest thing I've ever seen. They're academic rivals. Their parents, like, they've been living, like, their parents have been best friends forever, and they're forced on this road trip because their parents are like, oh, you guys want to go see those universities, so go together, and they're forced on this road trip, and it's just, I love them. I loved everything about it. There's not a bad thing. I love Talia Tucker's writing too. I devoured this. I probably read this super fast. Flower Heart, I read Flower Heart in May, I think. It gives such Howl's Moving Castle vibes, and I'm not talking about the plot, I'm talking about the world. I think there's something, what I really liked about Howl's Moving Castle is the world, and how it's this magical world, but it's not magical in the way we're used to seeing it. It's small town, and there's, like, weird, and magic's not all, it's like different just a little bit. And I love how Flower Heart's, her magic revolved around flowers and stuff, and oh, it's just so good. I don't want to say too much about Flower Heart because I feel like reading the synopsis really gives it away too, but it's just such it. If you loved Howl's, like, journey during Howl's Moving Castle and Sophie's, it's like if Sophie and Howl had a child. That it's just, you have to read it. I rated it 4.75 stars. So it was pretty high. Okay, so I just realized that Mixed Signals isn't on here, and I may have forgotten to say I read it on my Goodreads, I'm realizing. But Mixed Signals is absolutely amazing, and you have to read it. So this is actually, when I said my friend has Wild Side, I had Mixed Signals, and I just gave it to her, actually. And it's the cutest thing because it's a part of the Lovelight Farms universe. I really need to read more of Lovelight Farms universe. But it's so cute because she's this baker in this small town and he's a teacher, and they, like, have crossed paths a couple times, but, like, he's already obsessed, you know? And then it's that experimental dating again. Why have I read so much with that trope? And she's like, I've always had these bad dates, like, I can never find a good guy to date. He's like, okay, I'm gonna, like, take you on a couple dates and I'm gonna prove you wrong that you can find a good guy. And they were just so cute together. Like, I just love the way the author makes her characters and makes the small town romance. My birthday's in March. I'm just gonna ask for small town romance. You're gonna see me with piles of Elsie Silver and other small town romance books in March. Anyways, I loved that book. You have to read it. That's it. Okay. Next up, we're getting into light novels now. If the Villainess and Villain Met and Fell in Love. This is my absolute, like, this is one of my favorite light novels I've ever read. If you don't know what light novels are, they're basically just Japanese novels that often, like, manga and animes are made off of. I don't really know what differentiates them. They're really small. Maybe that's why they're called light. But I love this because it takes so many of the tropes you hate, and it literally is like, yeah, we hate them too. So she is the villainess engaged to the crown prince, and the engagement's broken off because he's fallen in love with, like, the peasant girl or whatever. And when she's broken up with, she's like, why did I change myself for this man? And she's like, I've been wearing these, like, dresses I don't like, I've been wearing so much makeup that I don't like. And so she just stops and she's like, I've been like doing bad on my grades because he said he didn't want me to do bad on my good on my grades. So she's like, no, I'm gonna study and like chase my dreams. And then the villain, obviously, he's like the one that is like, I don't like the crown prince kind of thing. And they both end up like meeting somehow, and she's like, and then they end up as academic rivals, but really they're both like in love with each other. And it's, there's only 2 volumes. I need more. I love them. I just love them. They're just so cute. There's also a manga of it. Putting that out there. I think this is the last light novel. This is Other World's Books Depend on the Bean Counter. It's such a ridiculous title. I know, but hang in here with me. It's so good. So this guy, he is like your typical overworked, like I think he's in his 30s or whatever. He's just overworked, tired, and he's just like, and he's walking home one day, and then he sees like this girl getting like pulled into like this random like magical hole, and he's like, hold on, I'll save her. But then he gets sucked into this magical world with like obviously she's supposed to be the saint or whatever, and they're like, we don't know what to do with you. So then he starts working at the castle's like I don't know, financial department, and obviously he doesn't know, like they're working, how they work is a lot less than how he's working, so he's like overworking and stuff. And then he's taking like these magical supplements because they're like, yeah, you just take one, and he's like, oh my goodness, I can just work forever like this. And then turns out, because he is not from their world, he cannot handle the magic. And so obviously the cold commander that hates everyone helps him. This is BL, by the way. I love this. I love them so much. And at the end of the first volume, there's a second volume, and I'm so excited to read the second volume. But I just love their dynamic, because he's like, leave me, like, I just want to do my own thing, and this cold commander that hates everyone like won't leave him. It's so cute. Manga time! Taman's B-side is the first manga I'm going to talk about. I'm still looking for the second or third volume, but guess who doesn't put it in the bookstore? Guess who would have to order it online? Guess who's the biggest procrastinator at ordering things online? Taman's B-side is basically about this idol, and like she's obsessed with this idol, and then she's housekeeping, and she's like, and this one person asks her to take over housekeeping, and it turns out she's housekeeping for this one idol, her favorite idol. But turns out he's not as like happy and bright as he is. He's like the shyest introvert ever, and he's just like a hermit crab. And it's so funny because she has to help him through it and stuff, and obviously he's an introvert and he's used to all these like fangirls fangirling over him, but their dynamic is so cute, and I love them. They're so cute. We're talking about idols already. We're talking about that, so I have to bring up Skip Beat. I've only read the first 5 volumes because I find it hard to read old shoujo manga online, just because I think it's like the way it's sketched and like, I don't know, I guess photocopied. I don't know how it goes up there. But I love Skip Beat because I love how she's like, so basically her boyfriend dumps her after she's like given up her whole life for him, and she's like, okay, then I'll become like an idol. I'm gonna become more famous than you. And so then she's like, she goes begging around this, and this one like industry's like, okay, yeah, but you have to work your way from the bottom. And it's just like, I love it. It's so cute. There's no way to describe Skip Beat. There is no physical way to do it unless you read it. It's just amazing. Fryan! Okay, Fryan? I butcher everything. I apologize. Beyond Journey's End is the most wholesome and soul-crushing thing you will ever like read / watch. So it's basically about this elf who lives forever, and she went on like this is like long after they've killed the Demon King and stuff, and she goes to visit one of her human companions, and he's super old, and then the next time she visits, he died. And she's really sad for some reason. She can't figure it out why, because she's been alive for so long, so why does she care that this one person like died? And then it's like about her journey and stuff, and she's trying to go to this place where she can like, where you can apparently talk to people who are dead, and it's just so soul crushing, because you see from the eyes of someone who's immortal and lived forever, and how like even though they've lived forever, they don't understand certain emotions and stuff, and how there's emotions clear to you, they weren't clear to her, and they just like break my heart. There's an anime too if you don't want to sit through the manga. Okay, are we in manhwa now? It's time for the manhwa. We're gonna start it off strong and say, guess who read Solo Leveling at the start of the year? I've been reading manhwa for probably 2-3 years, and I never touched Solo Leveling. I don't know why, but then I was home and I had nothing better to do, so I started binging Solo Leveling, like any sane person does. And I was like, just a couple chapters. I've read the whole manga, manhwa, which I think is like almost 200 chapters in like 2 days. It was insane. It's just, we don't talk about it. But I loved Solo Leveling. It's one of, I can't explain it really without like spoiling it. It's one of those where the world is like post-apocalyptic, whatever. I don't know. I can't say anything, guys. It's like the world's been taken over like by monsters and stuff, and he is like F rank, meaning he has like no magic, and then all of a sudden he almost dies, but then he's in the hospital, and it turns out even though you're not supposed to be able to like level up, he can level up now, and it's really good. You should just definitely read it. Okay, jumping to a cuter, happier side is Marriage Situation. I absolutely adore this. So I found this actually like a week ago, and I was just scrolling. I'm like, oh my god, looks so cute. I'm gonna read it. The male lead is the greenest flag you will ever find. So how it works, oh, I think that might be thunder. Sorry, it's raining outside. I get easily distracted sometimes. So what happens is she doesn't have a very good family, but they're like kind of rich. Like they're in the business world, but they're like on the poor side for like the rich people. So like lower upper class, I guess. And they want to marry her off to some like rich like heir to a company, but they don't want her to be happy either. And so she's like, do you know what, I'm just gonna like do like, maybe I'm gonna find a cute guy for one night and just, you know, pretend not to be myself. And then she bumps into this really cute guy, and they're absolutely obsessed with each other, and then she disappears. And then she's waiting for her arranged date, and it turns out to be the same guy, and he's like, will you marry me? Like on the spot. She's like, and before that she's like, he's not gonna want to marry me. Like, who wants to marry someone who goes on like one night stands? He's like, marry me. And he's the greenest flag in the world, and and he literally is like, I'm gonna take my time, like I want to make sure that we're marrying because like we love each other and stuff. It's just, it reminds me of Business Proposal and like Positively Yours and stuff. It reminds me of those vibes, and I feel like it's so hard to find manhwa like that, especially contemporary. Anyways, you need to read them. They're so cute. Miss Not So Sidekick. I read this in the summer after putting it off for so long, and I understand why people say the OGs are the best, because Miss Not So Sidekick will have you rolling on your stomach. Like, you will be laughing your head off. So basically, it's your typical, she reincarnates as like a random side character, and she's just like, okay, and she's like, I'm rich and stuff, yay. And so she starts writing BL like novels, and she becomes rich off of it. So she's actually a secret heiress too. When the plotline starts to roll around, like the time the books start, she's like, oh my god, I'm gonna find like the heroine and stuff, because like I want to be her friend and stuff. And it's so funny the whole time, because the heroine, like she ends up getting involved with all the male leads, but like some of the male leads absolutely hate her. But then the archmage, he's just like, he finds her very interesting because she's so strange, but it's just, I love them. They're so cute. Want to see my cat? Yes, that is the name of this. It is so cute and so wholesome, and it feels so meaningful at the same time, and the art is gorgeous. So Want to See My Cat is about how there's this girl, and she's like graduated from university like 10 years ago, and she's living happily with her husband and all her cats and her dogs, and she ends up going back to the city to visit some friends, and they're talking, and she ends up saving this girl from getting like hit by a truck, but turns out it was to be like a psychied into another world, and she's like, what, you're doing that to poor people? And he's like, what, the person, the god or whatever, he's like, I can put you into whatever novel you want. She's like, no, I'm happy with my life. And so she gets sent back in time 10 years before she met her husband and before she got all her animals. So she is trying to like, her main priority is actually finding the animals. She gets involved with her like future husband, and it's really funny because she's like, I don't know what's gonna happen, because obviously everything's very different and the timelines are very different, because like now she knows, and she almost like she like, I think, almost lost a dog because of how certain timelines ran and stuff. And so it's really cute, it's really funny, and I also just really enjoy like the uniqueness about it. It's just so cute. You have to read it. That's what I'm gonna say about all of these. If you follow me on Instagram or TikTok or anything, I've talked about this way too much. I Will Become the Villain's Poison Taster is absolutely one of my favorite historical manhwas out there. It is just adorable. Okay, maybe it shouldn't be called adorable, but she reincarnates as a villainess, and she's in prison. She's like basically waiting for her death date, and she's like, but at the same time she's in prison, and there's all these people trying to like attack her and stuff by poisoning her, but it turns out she's immune to poisons, which is really, really funny. But then this like villain comes, and he ends up making a deal with her, and so then she becomes his like poison taster and starts working for him and stuff, and she's like, I want to work for your boss, the head of the black mages, and he's like, or the dark mages, or they use black magic, and he's like, why would you want to work for him? And she's like, they're just so out of pocket, the two of them, and the plot is actually going really deep now. It's starting to get like, everything's starting to get really, really, really good, but I can't talk about it because that's spoilers. Anyways. Okay, next one, I just read it. This is the unofficial title because it's not officially out yet. It's called The Male Leads Are Trapped in My House. That's like the unofficial translation because I cannot speak Korean. I can look at really pretty images in Korean though and understand it. Just because I can't read in Korean doesn't mean I can't read manhwas. So this one, I've been waiting for it forever because I've seen the novel art and it's gorgeous. So basically, she is a rich heiress in this world, and she remembers her memories from her past life, and it turns out the apocalypse is going to be upon them in like a couple days, and to survive it, she has to wait like 2 years until like the cure is made or whatever. And so she takes like a $10 million loan. She buys this estate in the middle of nowhere, and she's just trying to mind her business and survive. But all of the main characters from the original story won't leave her alone, and somehow all manage to make it to her house. And she's like, why won't you leave me alone? And it's just, I love it. And she is also like so cool. Like she can fight and stuff too, and I like how it's like, kind of like, it reminds me a bit of steampunk, but it might not be, it shouldn't be steampunk, probably. Okay, this is I do not like the title they chose, but BRF Savvy or Die. So the title doesn't sound the best, but it is so good. The art is so gorgeous, because as someone who's read so many manhwas, it just makes my heart happy. So it's basically, she's read like hundreds and hundreds of manhwas, and she gets reincarnated into one, and she's like, and she gets like this system update, and it's like, you must find out what novel you're in, And she's like, okay, that's easy. You just have to find a handsome man. There's too many handsome men. They're all handsome. And so she can't figure out what novel she's in. And she's so confused. And she's like, and they're like, well, we're going to take away your health points if you can't. And then if she gets too low health points, she goes, ugh. And it's really, really funny because she's like trying to figure it out. But she's like, I can't remember any of them. I only remember like 5. And so as a manhwa reader, I have a pretty good memory about them. But for some people, I know it's really relatable. And I find it super duper funny. I stole the first ranker's soul. I've been seeing edits of this for like a year. And at first I was like just gonna ignore it, but then I decided to read it. And it's so good because it takes, so like there's like this genre where like the monsters take over the world and like people have to fight them. And she is just your typical office worker with like no skills, whatever. And then one day she's like in her house minding her business and there's like a dungeon that opens up, and then she ends up like gaining like a skill, and she's like, that shouldn't be possible. And then she ends up like in and then her office gets like swallowed up by the dungeon, and then she meets the first ranker, and then something happens, but let's just say she's slowly becoming like the strongest person, and she's like, what? She's just like, I want my own business, I want to be an ordinary office worker, but obviously that's not working out for her. Let's just say the first ranker, no matter if it's him or his soul, it was pretty fine. Yes, I'm simping over a ghost. I think I've been possessed somewhere is so hilarious that I had to add it on here. Basically, she is just like a mood. She gets possessed and she has no clue what she possessed into. She's read so many manhwas and stuff, and she's like, have no clue. Like her sister and the male lead are both have reincarnated, and there's like a horrible thing where she like, it's just crazy. It's crazy. And there's like, I don't even know what the plot is at this point, but it's just so funny and hilarious, and she's such a mood. And like her dad too, like she keeps trying to figure out what manhwa she's in. She goes to like the Grand Duke of the North, and he rejects her because she's like, oh, maybe it's a love story. And then she like childhood friend, and then he says he's gotten over her and leaving, and she's just so confused, and I love it. My secretly hot husband. I don't know when I read this. It might have been at the end of last year, but I'm including it anyways. My secretly hot husband is so cute, and I feel like it's one of the OGs because it finished like pretty long ago. And it's basically about, she is the witch. She's a witch to her family because she remembers her like past life, and she gets sent off to marry the monster of the north, and he always wears masks, so everyone thinks he's ugly. Turns out he is the hottest guy like on earth. And it's about them and like how they're the best Duke and Duchess and how they have to save the world and stuff. That is not the plot. And yeah, that is all of them. Those are my 24 picks. Jessens! I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna pick my top 3 and we'll chat about them, and I'm gonna say why they're my top 3. Okay, I said I was gonna pick top 3. I lied. I've decided to do top 1, and I think my favorite thing that I read this year that wasn't a reread was Wild Love. Yes, I had Wild Love sitting beside me the whole time. I just made another video. I don't know if it's because I just read Wild Love and I'm obsessed with it, but there's something about what Elsie Silver put in this book. Don't know what she put in. Can't tell you that. But what I can tell you is that it was so good. Just read Elsie Silver. Thank you so much for watching this video and seeing what my top 24 were. Let me know what your favorite read was, if you can pick one. Obviously, I'll understand if you instead type out a whole list of 10 books. But comment down what you think, your favorite books, and hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I see you next time.